Hello, everybody. Welcome to Inside Entrepreneurship on this Thursday evening in live from Ottawa. And I am Sue, and joining me is.
And I am Bassam. Nice to be
How
here.
you doing tonight? How you doing tonight, Bassam?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I've had a productive day today, and that is always something that, as an entrepreneur, you want to have. I had a couple of non-productive days, and we're actually going to talk about productivity and mental health and things like that a little bit tonight. But with all of this craziness going on right now in the world, and everybody's drawn to the election in the U.S., and it's like this focus is just on what's going on south of the border, and it can be pretty trying sometimes to focus and to stay sane, for lack of a better word, in these times. And that's actually one of the things we're going to be talking about tonight, which is managing stress and managing isolation, which is a common theme for us right now as an entrepreneur. And I wanted to start off by just asking you, Bassam, if you've had experience as an entrepreneur, if you've had experience at, managing or coping or dealing with a stressful time.
Yeah, where to begin, right? I mean, as I talked about, I think in our first show about my kind of history with some anxiety and some mental health conditions earlier on. So even before I got into entrepreneurship, I was learning how to cope with anxiety and cope with other mental health challenges, right? So I've taken those lessons outside of, from before I was into entrepreneurship. And so some of the things that if we talk about coping with the stress, and stress can be both external things, stuff in the news, like we're seeing right now, can be a lot of uncertainty. And also, I've talked a little bit about, since COVID started, that's really affected all of our lives in some way, right? So I've had to deal with those things, and a few of the ways that over the years that I've been able to manage stress and anxiety has been through just kind of a wellness program, right, for myself. So for everybody, it can be different. So so things like, for me, different kind of therapies and stuff like this. So in the past, I learned about cognitive behavioral therapy, kind of challenging your automatic thoughts and kind of keeping things in perspective. Also, growing my support network, so relationships and people that I can reach out to and that I can confide in, whether they be on a personal level or professional peers or mentors, right? And also, communities, right? Whether that's arts communities or social. I was part of the Ottawa Sports and Social Club, so before COVID happened, right? So that's both wellness in terms of exercise and team sports, and also the social aspect. So those are, there's a whole bunch of ways that we can try and manage that. When you have that social aspect, that kind of deals with the isolation part, the stress, having the outlet, whether it be in sports, whether it be through creativity and sharing, going to communities with different artists and stuff like this, like what I talked about in our session with Zoo last time. And so those are a few things. And for me personally, also, I derive a lot of strength from my faith. That's a very strong part. And depending on, if you have a diagnosed condition, certain medications can help you as well, right? So just like a diabetic, might have to take certain medication, but still have to live a more healthier lifestyle. I think that's the same in my case. I take a certain, so that's a bit about me. But what about yourself, Susan?
I think it's really interesting what you say about finding those supports, right? Because it's hard enough to be an entrepreneur and to run your own business and go through all the ups and downs of doing that, finding, always marketing yourself, finding new clients. I always say every day is a job interview when you're self-employed and when you're running your own business. And so it's tough enough out there as it is without, this pandemic going on, which causes people, entrepreneurship can be very isolating. And they've actually done studies about with entrepreneurs who, and they've sat down and asked them, like, what is it that you're most fearful of? And a lot of the entrepreneurs out there say isolation. And so finding that group and that support group and that tribe, that you can kind of surround yourself with, and that you can be vulnerable with to a certain extent as well. Because I find that with when you run your own business and you're the boss, right, and you're the face of the company, there's still a lot of stigma attached to mental illness and being in business for yourself. And you're supposed to be in control all the time, and you're supposed to be on top of your game every single day, and we know that that's just not the case, and that often entrepreneurs are feeling very isolated, especially right now. And so surrounding yourself with those people that you can talk to and that you can be vulnerable with is really, really important. And I wanted to mention too is that if anybody has any questions or you want to share your own story on dealing with your mental health as an entrepreneur, dealing with isolation, that sort of thing, please do let us know. I also think too, figuring out, I just read a really great book. I may have mentioned it. Oops, I put the wrong one up there. I may have mentioned it last week. It's by a guy named Rob Hatch, and it's called, oh shoot. Attention. It's called Attention. I'm sorry, Rob, if you're watching. It's called Attention, and it's really all about how you spend your time. And especially when you're running your own business, you can really get caught up in the day-to-day, in the weeds, operational stuff, and you forget to work on your business because you're in your business all the time. And he talks a lot about sort of curating your time and saying, how am I spending my days? How am I spending my time? And how can I be more effective in the way I spend my time? And that can include things like scheduling in, at this point, maybe a Zoom call to have coffee with somebody, or to have coffee with a group of people, or maybe you have a mastermind group that you're part of that can do something virtual right now. All of those things are really great, and great ways to break away from some of that isolation that you might be feeling, especially with COVID and not being able to go out and just have coffee with whoever we want, whenever we want, and all that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of value in that. So I think it's great that you bring that up. And you also talked about routines and rituals and your personal well-being. You discussed your faith. For me, it's things like meditation and just spending time with myself, doing hobbies or exercising, or doing things that I enjoy with my family or my friends. And all of those things create that balance, right? And you really want to create balance. And that's I've started taking karate lessons in the past couple of weeks. I think I mentioned that to you. And, that's one of the things that my sensei talks about all the time, is that you need to have, it's that karate is all about balance. You do something on one side, you do a move on one side, you do it on the other side, right? It's all about balance. And I think that work and life and being an entrepreneur, all those things need to create that balance. Yeah,
I think that's right. And just identify, I think maybe sometimes, you might have experience talking with different people in business, and sometimes one person's balance might be different than another person's balance. And also it takes some self-awareness for you to realize that you need to do that, because if you're off balance and you're not taking care of yourself, then you can quickly find yourself in kind of anxious time, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you started, or you were part of starting Jester like 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it, I think we've talked a bit about this before, but was it kind of a journey to find the right balance for you?
Oh, absolutely. I think, when we first started the company, that was basically all we did was was work on building something and making some kind of living out of it, and at times we didn't really know what direction we were going. Like we were sort of, trying things, experimenting with things. Some things worked really well, other things didn't work at all. Sometimes that caused a lot of stress and turmoil, but it took me a long time, like I'm talking like probably 10 years, to understand that I needed to have balance in my life again, that I didn't, I wasn't sort of pushing away friends and family and, for the purpose of building my business.
Right.
And, it was a hard lesson to learn. And it was pounded into me like over and over again. I was trying to learn the same lesson, and I finally did. And really what it came down to was that my mental health was suffering in a big way. And I had to, but I was trying to push it aside, right? And say, no, I can do this. I'm fine. It's great, but it wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. So there, and that just makes you feel more isolated sometimes, right? Because you feel like you're the only person in the entire world who's running a company who's having mental health problems, which is obviously not true. But that's how you feel, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I guess, I was talking with a good friend of mine earlier today, and we were talking about, and I think about the idea, we talked last time about the statistics on people in business having more prone to anxiety and stress and things like this. So, I'm wondering, like, for yourself and for like the question, can come like, if you're somebody with mental health, what's the pros and cons of getting into business versus career? Because I've had to think about that before as well. So, like, I mean, for me personally, there's certain things that I like about the flexibility of bringing ideas together and working on different types of projects and stuff like this. So there's stressors that can happen from being in a job versus being in a business, but I guess it all depends. But yeah, I mean, that was just an interesting conversation I had, and I wonder, what you might have some insights on kind of that question.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's different. I always knew that I wasn't really cut out for corporate life, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, slogging away. Although I did that for many, many, many years. The first half of my career virtually was spent, in a corporate office environment. Working not necessarily, well, when I worked in television, it wasn't really 9 to 5, but in my other jobs, it was, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and I found that I would just I just would get really antsy after a while. Like there was a period of time where I was bouncing around from job to job like once every year. Every year I'd go to a new job, not because the job wasn't there for me anymore, but because I'd find something else shiny and I'm like, oh, I want to go do this now, or I want to go do that now. Whereas now with having my own business, like we get to pick and choose what we do and who we work with and when we do things, and you make your own schedule. So it allows for me anyway, it allows for that balance. But I know lots of people who work the 9 to 5 life and find that they have balance doing that. So I think everybody's different. I think some people are just sort of more inclined to want to be their own boss, and then other people are like, no, forget it, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Yeah. So anyway, I think maybe it's a good time to segue into our next segment, which is bringing our guest on board. Again, as we go through here, if you have any questions or comments, just feel free to pop into the chat there, and we can get those on the air. Sorry, I just have to call up my next thing here. So yes, would you like to introduce our guest, Bassem?
Yes, so Daniel Cole is joining us today, and I've come to know him in the last couple of months. There he is, right? And we've become good friends now, and he's going to tell us a bit about the exciting initiative that he started and that we're collaborating on and trying to kind of spread to the world, right? So Daniel, I'll let you speak a little bit in your own words about just a little bit about yourself and your initiative.
Oh, Sorry.
Thank you for having me. Okay.
You're on.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice to be on. Back in April, I started this. That was my alarm to remind me to come on the show. Back in April, I started this site, and it was really 5 years in the making. It was an idea that I had. So it's called Pay What You Can Group Therapy, and it came from my experience in going to group therapy. So I'm 33 now. Around the time I was about 17, probably even earlier, like 14, I was having intrusive thinking. I had no idea what it was. Really came to a head when I was 17 at second year university. And then, I went and saw a psychologist, and it was good, but she didn't really put her a label on what it was, and it was OCD. So everyone thinks of OCD like it's checking the lights and making sure the stove is off and checking the door and washing your hands. But there's also pure OCD, which is intrusive thinking. So, it took me a long time to figure it out. Somebody eventually, my dad mentioned it to his brother-in-law's brother about what I was dealing with. And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's OCD." And he gave my dad a book called Brain Lock to give to me. And I read it, and it completely, changed my life, just to be able to sort of label what it was that I had and was going through. And from there, I found an OCD group therapy in downtown Toronto, and it was great. And I remember just being in that group and just being like, this is such an amazing thing. Like, I wish I knew about this so many years ago. How many people out there could use something like this? So it was always a business idea in my mind, and that was back in like 2015. And then I always thought, okay, I'm going to do this idea when I have some money, when I can afford it, because it's probably going to cost me like 25 grand to make the site and whatever. I'm actually an insurance broker also, and made a site last year for under $1,000, and it was pretty good. And I'm like, you know what, with COVID, and we didn't have to pay our taxes, so everyone, you thought you were richer than you were, in the bad way. And I made the site, and I over the last few months, I've connected with a lot of people, one of them being Bassam, and we've Bassam's been amazing. He's introduced me to a number of people, and we're working on getting incorporated as a non-for-profit so that we can put more money into the business to spread the word. So that's my spiel. I know this isn't I guess it's mental health and entrepreneurship, right? So that's mental health entrepreneurs are so altruistic. The people that I've met are very, very altruistic and good people, and it's not so easy to make money in this world, in this industry, but everyone's sort of doing it for the right reasons. So
awesome. So tell us a little bit more about the types of therapy that the site provides, or that you provide through the site.
There are 20 topics. I should pull it. Did you have it up there? I saw it was up there,
yes,
but I'll get it.
I can pull it up again.
Yeah. Okay. So we can read them. There's 20 topics. Anxiety and stress is probably the most popular, maybe because it's the first one there, but it's also just like, if you go, book your session or something if you want. There's depression, there's grief. We just added a bipolar session today. Somebody wanted to moderate that session. So anxiety and stress, relationships, OCD, depression, addiction, substance abuse, eating disorders, grief, sex, physical and verbal abuse, anger management, stress and burnout, self-esteem for men, youth support for relatives of addicts, purpose, support for first responders, healing from and recovery from trauma, living with chronic illness and disability, postpartum depression, and
it's still going.
Finding your fit, managing bipolar, women's group for self-love and self-esteem, Immigrants
Yeah.
and refugees. There you go. So over 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
So you really have
challenge.
something for everybody.
Yeah, and is that smart? Like, are we spreading ourselves too thin? Possibly, but whatever. We build it, and they will come. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's true, and I think I think you're hitting a really interesting. I think it's interesting that you have so many different topics that you cover, because a lot of mental health resources, I find, like, you can find specific resources for anxiety, specific resources for OCD, but a place that you can access care for every aspect of mental health, I think is really innovative. Yeah.
There's something for everyone.
Yeah, it really is.
On there. So, but I spent this whole summer talking with people and talking. Like, we started off with 9 groups, and then I spent the whole summer connecting with people on LinkedIn to become moderators, and it grew. It just was like somebody said, "Oh, I've always wanted to do this group." I'm like, "Okay, sure, we'll add it." I was of the mind of like, well, I'm just going to add everything and anyone. But then I kind of slowed down and said, okay, maybe there's too many, because you're getting one person signing up for this group and only one person for this group. Maybe let's just chill out, see how this goes, and fill these groups. And then, we could always add more.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I was really excited about for partnering with Pay What You Can group therapy, and for you being kind of a project or an initiative that we spread the word about every week, is the fact that there are so many different groups that you focus on, and that they're very relevant to entrepreneurs, right? And just people in general, right? So when you're talking, it's not just one specific disorder or area, right? So you have like anxiety. You have even groups like Purpose. I believe that was one of them, and all sorts of things. So there really is something for everyone, right? And from my own experience, I learned the value of group therapy through my own experience, just like you, Daniel, right? So one, especially back in 2011, I went to a 14-week program called was part of the Anxiety Disorders Association of Ontario, right? So in that, I think anxiety is identified, if I'm not mistaken, as like one of the most prevalent mental health disorders across the spectrum, right? So just attending that group in person, I saw that every type of person was at this group. There was maybe 12 or 13, 14 people in that group, and we had people from the corporate world, from professors to students to everybody. So that really opened my eyes, and why when you reached out to me on LinkedIn, I'm like, yes, this is such a great idea, and that it will help so many people. But I guess you have the moderators, you have the supply side, right? So now just the goal that we're trying to do with different things is because I know there's a big need for it as well, right? So it's just a matter of getting the word out and getting people to sign up for the groups, so that's something that
Awesome.
Sorry?
I said we work on that every day, don't we?
Yeah. So
Absolutely. Can you walk us through how one of these sessions actually works? So if I come to the site, how do I get started? What do I do?
So you book the session. You click on book now. It'll take you to like a weekly calendar of all the sessions that are running that week. You book it. You'll get a link for a Zoom. It's a Zoom link. And you'll enter into the Zoom when the session is running. So it's all over Zoom. It's a virtual session. So you'll get the link, and then I'll get the link, and the moderator gets the link or a message like somebody booked, you got a booking. So that's kind of how it works on our end. And then, yeah, I mean, it's 6 people per session max. Just because on Zoom, when you were talking to relatives over the holiday, whatever, during the pandemic, and it was difficult for everyone to talk all at the same time. So we just wanted to keep it at 6 max per session.
Yeah,
And that's it. And then, so then after the session, an email goes out and it says, rate your session, rate your moderator, and pay what you can.
Okay.
So people.
Okay, so the
zero.
pay what you can is after the session is done.
That's right.
That's right. Cool. Well, I think that's, I think it's really interesting that what I know, having worked with mental health groups in the past, was that access to care is a really huge problem in Canada, in Ontario, across the world probably. And what I think you're doing here is that you're taking away some of those barriers to entry to get this kind of help. And
Exactly.
just with the pay what you can model, I think is amazing. It's much easier for somebody to say, okay, I think I need this kind of help. This is where I can go and I can do this and be successful with it. Yeah, so that's terrific.
Well, I mean, they always thought that the barriers for the people who went to my group, the OCD group, was accessibility. If it was too far, they probably wouldn't go. If it was cold outside, maybe they didn't want to go. Anonymity. A lot of people would sort of be like, I don't know, I might see somebody that I know there. And I mean, I suppose the same thing could happen with our groups, but you could, maybe not show your video if you want, or sign up with a fake name, or there are kind of ways around it, I suppose, more so than an in-person group. And then like the commonality of my group therapy thing that I really liked was that it was free. It was free. I mean, that's where can you get free therapy? And it's we try not to call it therapy because there's jurisdiction issues and we can't call it therapy. So peer support. Let's call it peer support. And like when I would go see my shrink, like it costs $200. And even if you're doing okay and making a decent salary, and you don't have group benefits, $200 is not nothing. And like, so it was like,
and you typically don't just go once, right? So
exactly, it was a birthday present for me to go see my shrink for many years. So. And I listen. I look at entrepreneurship, and I look at mental health from a spiritual point of view. I look at both of them as sort of struggles, and there are just you take certain steps and you get to a certain realizations, and like climbing a mountain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suppose mental health is not really a choice, though, and entrepreneurship kind of is. But I do find the spirituality in entrepreneurship, at least. Let's say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that one. I wanted to ask you about the professionals that you've got working in these sessions. So obviously somebody's leading the session at some point. Who are the people that you're involved with on that level?
So there's 30 of them, and all of them are licensed psychotherapists, psychologists, or social workers. They are all over Canada, some in the US. They are amazing people, each one of them. They believe in the mission here, and they know that they're not going to get paid, maybe at the beginning here until it's more of an established thing. And but they really, they see it. They see that a lot of people can't afford help. And those are usually the people who need it most quite often. And they're just such great people, really, all of them.
That's amazing. That's just incredible that you've got such a great assortment or collection of people that are professionals, therapists, psychotherapists, like you said, and that they're willing to participate in this and really, help bring this together. It's great.
In these early days, you get one person books a session, and it's like, do you want to run this session? I know it's only one person. They go, no, I'll run it.
Mhm.
you know, and they'll have a
Yeah.
nice, that person gets, you know, a one-on-one, but they, you know, they really need it. So
Mhm.
yeah, they're all really,
Yeah. It must feel good to know you're really helping people.
yeah. I mean, I think that I'm an insurance broker, and that was always before that I was actually in the children's toy business with it was a family business for 3 years. And then when that ended, I was like, I still want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't really have a lot of money. So insurance broker sounds good because you know, you just need to pass the test, and you're really free. You know, it's you start with zero. It's all commission, so you're kind of your own boss. So I was like, okay, that'll do. But it was always, okay, this is the thing that's going to pay the bills, and then I'm going to work on my novel. So I'm also a writer like you, and I'm going to work on things that, you know, give me meaning and give me purpose. And I think maybe the OCD and trying to figure out what it was led me to read all these books on psychology and self-help, and you know, you stumble upon a lot of them that say, you know, it really gets you out of that purpose and meaning, and you know, things that you really want to do all day. So that was always the goal. The goal was always pay the bills and, you know, do something that's purposeful.
Awesome. I think that that's probably a really good place to end things off. Tell us a little bit more about where we can find Pay What You Can Group Therapy. I've got the website address up here, and
There it is.
there it is. That's all you need. It's Pay What You Can Group Therapy. And if you
follow us on Instagram, you know, I don't post that often. I need to get my social media game up, but you know, we're just trying to drive people to the website.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and if people want to see if they can get involved somehow, the email is on the website that they can shoot you an email to. All right, Daniel?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Fantastic. Right. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for coming on the show today and sharing your message. I think it's amazing what you're doing. I think you're helping a lot of people, and the potential to help even more people is really there. So I wish you all the best with this project, and we look forward to continuing to talk about it on our show as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
You. We'll talk to you later, Daniel.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, that was terrific. That was terrific. I'm just blown away by this very cool project that you guys are involved with. I think that the potential is just amazing. So cool.
Yeah. I mean, it really was something. I was like, yes, that's like such a useful thing and such a beneficial thing. And the fact that there's 30 professional kind of psychotherapists, psychologists, and social workers involved in this really is a testament to kind of the belief they have in helping people. So yeah. I think we're all looking forward to seeing how this grows, and how the thing with these type of things, you know, just helping, you know, success is just one person at a time. You can help benefit one person, that's already like such a valuable thing, and let alone like more and more people. Yeah. Oh, definitely for sure. Okay, great. Well, I think that brings us to the end of today's show. I'd like to thank everybody who tuned in for watching. We didn't have much in the way of comments today, but I guess people were just really interested in listening to what Daniel had to say. And yeah, so it was great to do this and chat with you, Bassem. I hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you all next time on Inside Entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.